Audacity 3 minimums, Windows. Last time we looked at minimum hardware requirements for Audacity 3 on Mac. This time Windows gets the same treatment in the latest edition of Stuart's Audacity Tips. There are an increasing number of questions arising around Audacity 3. It's a great time to share SAT with others. Please feel free to do so. Well, it's been quite a bit longer than I had hoped since the last issue in which we looked at performance of Audacity 3 on the Mac platform. Much has happened in the intervening days, some of which I'll share and much of which you'll be happy that I don't. Before we get into the numbers for Audacity 3 on Windows, let me reiterate one of my most frequent messages regarding the use of software and hardware for any regular purpose. ABDFI. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is especially important if you are using that hardware and software for producing your income. Even if new versions of things seem to be very attractive, it's good to avoid ditching your working setup in favor of something else until you're certain that the new setup will be reliable. Let others suffer the pain so you don't have to. After all, that's what I'm here for, right? In that vein, there have been some issues identified with Audacity 3 file handling. These are apparently pretty rare, but upon rollout to the whole wide world, reports started reaching the Audacity team. Fortunately, Paul and the gang are on top of it, and Audacity 3.0.2 will be out soon to address those issues. This is not to say you should jump on Audacity 3.0.2 right away. Remember, IIAB-DFI. Evaluate carefully. Okay. Now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk about Audacity 3 on Windows and minimum hardware requirements. This was harder than I expected, and part of the reason it's been so long since the last SAT issue. I wanted to find a computer that had the minimum specs for Audacity on Windows 10 and use that for testing. It turned out to be quite a challenge. Basically, the upshot of the search was that if you have a machine that is capable of running Windows 10, it can run Audacity 3 quite well for voiceover purposes. The machine I finally found was a Fujitsu laptop with a first-generation i5 processor at 2 GHz and 4 GB of RAM. This matches the minimum requirement specified on the Audacity site for an hour more of single-track audio or multiple tracks of shorter length. As it happens, this configuration is barely usable with Windows 10 in general, with patience. So if Windows 10 runs comfortably on your computer, Audacity 3 should be fine. So, what do the numbers look like? Here's the summary table of the same tests I ran for the Mac. The numbers are quite similar to the results observed for the Mac, although there is one mea culpa. When testing the Mac, I created the hour-long narration project by repeatedly copying a 1-minute segment of recorded material until I had an hour of content, and then I worked it around to resemble a typical editing session. This was not a great test, because Audacity is smart enough to recognize copied blocks of audio and just reference it as reused, as opposed to making copies over and over in the stored project's audio files. This is why the 1-hour project was so small on the Mac results. When I reran the tests using the project built for the Win tests, I got very similar file sizes. I apologize for any confusion this may have caused. The short story is that if your hardware is running Audacity 2.4.2, it will be able to run Audacity 3. That part of the equation isn't something to worry about. I look forward to seeing how things look with 3.0.2. Stay tuned for that. Hope this helps. I'm Stuart.